Welcome to the course Funding Mechanisms and Planning Compliance, prepared within the scope of the EPD-Net project. This course is part of the Ecological Planning and Design Learning Network, EPD-Net, initiative and is supported by the Erasmus Plus program. The primary objective of this module is to provide a comprehensive understanding of the financial resources required to build sustainable and disaster-resilient cities, as well as the legal and planning compliance processes governing the use of these resources. Today, cities are facing unprecedented challenges such as climate change, rapid urbanization, environmental degradation, and increasing social inequalities. Addressing these challenges requires not only technical expertise in urban planning and design, but also a strong understanding of how projects are financed and how they comply with European Union regulations and standards. Sustainable urban transformation is not merely a design or engineering challenge, it is also a financial and administrative process that must align with EU policies, funding rules, and environmental legislation. Throughout this module, we will explore the key European funding instruments available for urban sustainability projects and examine the strategic steps required to access and manage these funds effectively. By the end of the course, you will have a clearer understanding of how to transform innovative urban ideas into fundable, compliant, and implementable projects. This course is structured around 5 main thematic sections. First, we will provide an overview of the core European Union funding instruments that support urban sustainability initiatives. Understanding which funding program is suitable for which type of project is crucial for the overall success of your proposal. The second section focuses on planning compliance. Here, we will examine how legal frameworks such as Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, and Strategic Environmental Assessment, SE, are integrated into urban projects and funding applications. These processes ensure that development activities respect environmental limits and social concerns. In the third section, we turn to financial management, where we will discuss budget preparation, eligible costs, and transparent procurement procedures. The fourth section addresses monitoring and reporting mechanisms, focusing on how project performance is measured and how progress is reported to funding authorities. Finally, the course concludes with best practice case studies that demonstrate how these theoretical principles are applied in real-world urban projects. Upon successful completion of this course, participants are expected to achieve several key learning outcomes. First, you will be able to distinguish between major EU funding programs relevant to urban sustainability, ranging from Horizon Europe to the LIFE program. This competence will enable you to select the most appropriate funding source based on the specific needs and objectives of your institution or municipality. Second, you will develop the ability to analyze environmental and strategic compliance standards applicable to urban projects. This includes understanding how to navigate regulatory requirements and avoid legal obstacles during project implementation. Third, the course aims to enhance your understanding of financial reporting and audit mechanisms that are essential for ensuring funding security, transparency, and accountability. Finally, you will gain the capacity to integrate local planning strategies with international funding criteria. This skill is particularly important for aligning municipal development goals with broader European policy frameworks. Overall, these learning objectives are designed not only to provide theoretical knowledge, but also to equip you with practical expertise in the financial and administrative management of urban sustainability projects. The European Union has set an ambitious target to become the world's first climate-neutral continent by 2050 through the European Green Deal. Cities play a central role in this vision, as they are responsible for a significant share of global greenhouse gas emissions while simultaneously being among the most vulnerable areas to the impacts of climate change. Urban resilience therefore extends beyond physical infrastructure and encompasses economic stability, social cohesion, and ecological sustainability. The EU funding vision has been designed to accelerate this transformation by mobilizing substantial financial resources. Cities are encouraged to reduce their carbon footprint, protect biodiversity, and transition towards circular economic models. However, access to these resources depends on the alignment of projects with the EU's overarching strategic goals. In this course, we will explore how urban projects can be aligned with macro-level EU objectives and how funding strategies can be built around this long-term vision. Sustainable transformation should be understood not only as a technical challenge, but also as a strategic financial planning process. Horizon Europe is the European Union's most ambitious research and innovation program to date. For cities, it offers significant opportunities, particularly through the city missions, such as the goal of achieving 100 climate-neutral and smart cities by 2030. Horizon Europe supports not only technological innovation but also social innovation and new governance models. Projects focusing on energy efficiency, smart mobility systems, or community-based climate adaptation strategies are particularly well suited to this program. A defining feature of Horizon Europe is its emphasis on multi-stakeholder consortia, bringing together universities, municipalities, civil society organizations, and industry partners. This collaborative structure ensures that innovative solutions are tested and implemented in real urban contexts rather than remaining purely theoretical. The stronger the innovative dimension of your project, the higher the likelihood of securing funding under Horizon Europe. The European Regional Development Fund, ERDF, is a cornerstone of the EU's cohesion policy. Its primary objective is to reduce economic and social disparities between regions across Europe. In the context of urban development, ERDF is one of the most important funding sources for infrastructure investments. Projects related to energy efficiency, building renovation, green public spaces, and sustainable transport networks are commonly supported through ERDF. A key requirement of the fund is that at least 8% of its total budget must be allocated to sustainable urban development strategies. This provision creates a direct opportunity for local authorities to implement their strategic urban plans. ERDF projects typically aim to stimulate local economies, create employment, and enhance quality of life. Applicants are expected to clearly demonstrate how their projects contribute to regional development objectives and integrate environmentally friendly technologies. The LIFE program is the only EU funding instrument fully dedicated to environment and climate action. Unlike other programs that prioritize economic development or innovation, LIFE focuses exclusively on nature conservation, biodiversity protection, and climate change mitigation and adaptation. For cities, LIFE is particularly suitable for ecosystem-based adaptation projects and urban biodiversity initiatives. Nature-based solutions such as green roofs, rain gardens, and urban wetlands are typical examples of projects supported by LIFE. The program is divided into sub-programs covering nature and biodiversity, climate mitigation, and climate adaptation. Another distinctive feature of LIFE is its emphasis on pilot projects that test innovative environmental solutions at a small scale and then facilitate their replication and upscaling. Projects that offer concrete, measurable ecological benefits and address specific environmental challenges are especially well aligned with the objectives of the LIFE program. The Cohesion Fund targets EU member states whose gross national income is below 90% of the EU average and supports investments in environment and transport infrastructure. It is particularly relevant for large-scale environmental projects such as wastewater treatment plants or major energy infrastructure developments. In addition, the Just Transition Mechanism, introduced as part of the European Green Deal, provides new opportunities for cities and regions heavily dependent on carbon-intensive industries. This mechanism aims to mitigate the social and economic impacts of the transition to a green economy. For example, regions dependent on coal mining may receive support for worker reskilling, economic diversification, and urban infrastructure modernization. Both funding instruments are strictly guided by the "do no significant harm" principle, ensuring that no investment undermines other EU environmental objectives. The Recovery and Resilience Facility, RRF, was established in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and serves as a powerful, though temporary, financial instrument aimed at building greener, more digital, and more resilient economies. Member states access this funding through their national recovery and resilience plans. For cities, the RRF is particularly significant, as at least 37% of national plan budgets must be allocated to climate objectives and at least 20% to digital transformation. This creates substantial opportunities for energy-efficient building renovation, smart city technologies, and digital public services. Unlike traditional funding programs, RRF operates on a results-based payment system, where disbursements are linked to the achievement of predefined milestones and targets. As a result, time management and performance tracking are especially critical for RRF-funded projects. Securing funding is only half of the process. Effective implementation requires full compliance with planning regulations. Planning compliance refers to adherence to both local legal frameworks and EU regulatory standards. Its core principles are transparency, accountability, and environmental integrity. The EU requires assurance that every euro spent complies with environmental and social standards. Projects that neglect environmental risks or conflict with spatial planning regulations may face funding suspension or recovery. From a risk management perspective, compliance processes should begin at the earliest stages of project design. Rather than being perceived as a bureaucratic obstacle, planning compliance functions as a quality assurance mechanism that enhances project legitimacy, sustainability, and public acceptance. Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, is a legally mandated process for evaluating the potential environmental effects of specific projects before implementation. Infrastructure developments, large construction projects, and major urban regeneration initiatives typically require EIA. The process includes screening, scoping, environmental analysis, and public consultation. EIA reports identify potential negative impacts and propose mitigation measures to reduce or eliminate these effects. Public participation is a critical component, ensuring that affected communities have a voice in decision-making. Funding authorities require formal documentation confirming successful completion of the EIA process before approving payments. A well-managed EIA process not only minimizes environmental harm but also increases social acceptance and project credibility. While EIA focuses on individual projects, strategic environmental assessment, (SEA), applies to plans and programs, such as urban master plans or regional energy strategies. SEA integrates environmental considerations at an early, strategic stage of decision-making. This proactive approach enables authorities to prevent unsustainable development before concrete projects are defined. SEA supports coherent land use planning, protects sensitive ecosystems, and manages urban sprawl. For EU-funded projects, the existence of an SEA-approved strategic plan significantly strengthens the project's environmental credibility and policy coherence. Natura 2000 is the EU's flagship network of protected areas, designed to conserve Europe's most valuable habitats and species. Urban expansion or infrastructure development affecting Natura 2000 sites requires an appropriate assessment. If significant harm cannot be avoided, projects may proceed only under strict conditions, including the absence of alternatives and demonstration of overriding public interest. In such cases, compensatory measures are required to offset ecological damage. Biodiversity compliance underscores that urban development must coexist with nature rather than undermine it. Thorough biodiversity assessment strengthens the ethical and environmental integrity of funding applications. International funding mechanisms must be firmly grounded in local policy frameworks. Projects must comply with zoning regulations, municipal strategic plans, and national policy documents such as national recovery and resilience plans. Funding bodies also assess political sustainability, evaluating whether local authorities can maintain and operate projects after EU funding ends. Strong stakeholder ownership and institutional commitment are essential for long-term success. Projects should therefore be designed as integral components of local development strategies rather than externally imposed interventions. Effective financial management lies at the heart of successful urban projects. EU funding rules strictly define eligible costs, including personnel, travel, equipment, and external services. Budgets must be realistic, balanced, and transparent. A clear distinction between direct and indirect costs is required, and co-financing contributions from local institutions are often mandatory. Transparent accounting systems and continuous financial monitoring are essential to ensure compliance and pass audits successfully. Procurement procedures under EU-funded projects must adhere to principles of open competition, transparency, and non-discrimination. Tendering requirements vary according to financial thresholds. Increasingly, green public procurement criteria are integrated into these processes, prioritizing environmentally sustainable suppliers. Maintaining a comprehensive audit trail is critical, as even minor procedural errors may lead to financial corrections or fund recovery. Monitoring and reporting ensure that projects deliver on their commitments. Progress is tracked through milestones and key performance indicators, KPIs, which provide measurable evidence of success. Regular technical and financial reports document achievements, address delays, and support risk management. Effective reporting strengthens institutional credibility and future funding prospects. Barcelona's Superblocks project exemplifies successful integration of funding mechanisms and planning compliance. Financed through ERDF and local budgets, the project reallocated street space to pedestrians and green areas. The initiative resulted in significant reductions in air pollution and noise levels while enhancing social and economic vitality. This case demonstrates the transformative potential of well-aligned funding, planning, and political commitment. EU funding programs are powerful catalysts for urban resilience and sustainability. However, success depends on selecting appropriate funding instruments, ensuring strict planning compliance, and maintaining transparent financial management. The integration of local planning visions with international funding criteria is essential for achieving lasting urban transformation.